So, what is an appraisal contingency? What's going on, ladies and gents in Cyberland? I'm coming back to you with another informative video, and this time we're going into the second one that I like to call, or we talk about in regards to the contingencies. We're going into the appraisal contingency. So, what is that? So let's just go into, we've already done the inspection and everything's good to go. Buyer's happy, sellers are happy. We're moving forward escrow, trying to get this thing finished up and wrapped up so the sellers can sell the home and buyers can move into their new home. Well, now we have the appraisal. So the appraisal is pretty much, in hindsight, ensuring that what you're paying for, or what you're paying for, is actually what the house is worth. What that means is that, let's say the house you're looking to purchase is $650,000, and that's what you put in, and that's what the seller is that's what the home is listed for. Well, the appraisal is pretty much done by a third party, and what they do is they ensure that the home is worth the $650,000 on the market. Now, the reason why appraisals are put in place is to ensure that the buyer is paying what the home is actually worth, and that they're not paying $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 over what the price of the home on the market is supposed to be. That's the purpose of it. Because the thing of it is that sometimes what can happen is that, and this can be a mistake, this just happens, is that sometimes people will think, a seller will think that their home is worth $600,000. However, their square footage, what the market can bear, what the other homes, and also what the house looks in regards to the modifications to the home, those all play a factor in what the house is actually worth. Even though the seller may think, well, the guy 2 doors down sold their house for $650,000, I should be able to sell mine for that, or $675,000. Unfortunately, what they don't realize is that there's certain things about that house that made their home sell for that much. Or it could be the fact of, that person, it was a cash offer that was purchased, because that can play a factor too. When it's a cash offer, it can be not so much about that there doesn't need to be an appraisal, there doesn't need to be a loan. It's just, as we say in the real estate world, cash is king. So there doesn't have to be anything. But whenever there's a loan being involved in the process of purchasing the home, well, the people that are loaning the money to the people that are trying to purchase the home, that does matter. So, unfortunately, there's sometimes where sellers will think their house is worth more when actually it isn't. And the thing of it is that as an agent that's listing the home, you kind of have to bring all the facts to them and let them know that, hey, this is where your house is set at due to everything that's sold in this area, what the market's looking like, and the comparables of what your house has compared to what other homes have had and what they've sold for. And the best thing that we try to instill in clients when it comes to the appraisal is to make sure that the buyer, at least from the seller's point, that when the buyer's trying to purchase or you're getting offers, that it's going to be in a threshold where, you don't have to worry about the appraisal saying the house is not worth this much, or this is too high, or this or that. Now with the buyer, it's the same thing. The buyer has an appraiser come in who they didn't hire. This is completely a third party. The buyer has no say with that, as well as neither do us as the realtors. It's totally checks and balances. We have no control over the appraiser. All we can do is they come appraise the home that the buyer's trying to purchase. They state their facts, and then we get the report, which goes to the buyer and lets them know what the house is worth. And most of the time, my experience, due to the fact that the realtors I've worked with and that they know the market very well, the amount that they listed the house for was pretty accurate, pretty spot on. I've yet to have a situation where the home was overpriced or was underpriced. So, in my experience, everything is pretty much worked out. Now, why do we have the appraisal contingency? Well, here's the thing. This could be a problem if you don't have any contingency. So, let's say the buyers want to buy the home for $700,000, and the house was listed at $680,000, and the listing agent feels the home is, they listed at $680,000 because that's what the market says it's worth, right? Well, and then the buyers don't even do an appraisal. Like, yeah, that's $700,000. It's about $680,000 or more. We're good to go. And the appraisal still is done, but the contingency is removed to say, well, we're still going to buy the home even if the home comes in at a higher value or it comes at a lesser value. And the appraisal's done, and it comes out that the house is really only worth $660,000. So now the loan for the buyers are pretty much like, hey, we're only going to pay what the house, we're only going to loan you for what the amount is worth. We're not going to do the difference. So you're going to have to come out of pocket, meaning that the buyers are now going to have to come out $40,000 as opposed to $20,000. And that can cause a serious problem for the buyer because, hey, either we don't have that kind of money, we only set aside this $20,000, or we don't want to pay that much for the house. And then that's where there becomes problems because now buyers are removed the appraisal contingency before they had the appraisal done. So now it turns into like, well, we don't want to buy the house, but we the contingency. Mind you, they still have to, we only have one contingency left, which is the loan if the inspection's already been done. See the dilemma? Again, just like the inspection, we normally, not normally, but don't advise clients to not have an appraisal done. Like, remove the appraisal contingency when we have an appraisal, because you never know. You never know. However, what I'd like to do is anytime I am working with the buyer and they're interested in a home, I make sure that I get a comparable market analysis. And what that is pretty much looks at all the homes that have sold in that area, what they sold for, and how they were similar, what were their differences, and how much they sold for. And once I give that information to my client, it lets them know that, hey, even if we don't hypothetically, you don't want to do you don't want to have the appraisal contingency, this is roughly what the house is. So the numbers already look good, and that's one way to say, hey, this can still work. That, there's not going to be a problem with the amount of how much the house is worth in regards to what the appraisal says. That's one thing I do. However, I still tell my clients that, hey, it's your decision if you want to if you don't want to do the appraisal contingency, if you just want to omit it and not have before the appraisal is done. That is your decision. I always leave the cards in their hands. I don't try to say, no, we need to do it. I say, here's all the information, we can go over it, and then you guys can talk amongst each other, give you some time, and we can talk it over how you want to proceed. You still give them the option, because at the end of the day, you're there to serve their needs, and they are the ones that are purchasing the home, and they are the ones that are living in this home, not you. So you need to keep that in mind still. At the end of the day, you're serving their needs, and this is for them, not you. So don't try to cut corners and not give them the education that they deserve as a client to make sure that they're going to get what they're asking for. They're going to get what they pay for. And there's not going to be a situation where they are paying $700,000, but their loan's only covering $660,000 now because they didn't do the appraisal, or they removed the appraisal contingency before they had the appraisal done. Now, if they chose to do that, that was their choice, but you made sure you gave them the information so they could do that. didn't cut corners and withhold information. You told them all the facts, kept that positive energy, controlled your emotions, put it in a good light, but still stayed with the facts. And they made the decision on how they want to proceed, not you. Because if something goes bad in the transaction, you don't want it to be because you withheld information or you didn't educate them. You want it to be because either things just didn't work out, or it's because they chose to make these type of decisions and it didn't work in their favor, but not because something you didn't do. You always want to make sure that any decision that your client is making, they have all the facts and they have your support, but it is their decision of what they're choosing to do. You're not the one making the decisions for them. Because one thing you don't want, and I'll continue to say this, is you never want a client to walk away after everything's said and done feeling they made a mistake. And yes, some clients after a couple days can feel like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have done this or done that, and that's normal. And I tell all my clients that's normal, to where you feel like maybe you shouldn't have bought this or this. No, that's totally normal. But that's normal after you've given them all the facts and all the education. You've taught them the whole process. Not, you didn't teach them anything, withheld information, they didn't know the process fully, and now they're in this house and they're having second thoughts, but now they're in this house and they have some type of issues. Because you didn't educate them. That's your job, not theirs. They shouldn't have to, and not only they shouldn't have to, well, they shouldn't have to pick your brain to get the information. You should be giving that information to them, even when they don't ask. Why? Because not only are you continuing to show confidence, you're showing character, but you're also showing that you're honest, you have integrity, and you continue to show them value that they hired the right person to help make their dreams become a reality. Now, I had a situation where I had a client, and in order for us to get them into the house, we had to shorten the appraisal. And of course, this happened during the whole situation with, the COVID stuff had started to kick into gear around this time. And unfortunately, people were freaking out, justifiable, and we ended up having the inspection done, credits were distributed and agreed upon, and the loan was done. But the appraisal was sitting in limbo. And it got to a point where the seller wanted to back out and didn't want to sell the home because they felt like something's not right. Because sellers can get a little jittery, They could feel like, hey, you're stalling, something's wrong, you don't want the house, you're looking for something else, and I still have other people, I don't want to lose my opportunity to get this house sold. And I had to be on that phone with the listing agent every single day, letting them know, no, my clients want this home, they want the home, tell your seller, this, and that. And finally, it got to a point where the appraisal still wasn't being done, it wasn't getting done. And I finally had to get in touch with the proper people and said, look, what do I have to do to get this appraisal done? Because the house is vacant, nobody's living there, we need to, this is holding us back from closing this escrow. And got it, it wasn't my job. It wasn't what I was supposed to do. But I did what I had to do to make sure that my clients got their home. The sellers were able to sell this home and move on with their life. And sometimes, again, like I said in my other videos, that's what you have to do. It's not about who did this or did that, because at the end of the day, I know I help my clients, and that's all that matters. And I made a good friend with the listing agent too. Because I showed them, hey, you got something coming up, or you need this or that, let me know. It's not just building a relationship with your clients, it's also building a good relationship with other realtors, because hey, it's a melting pot and everybody knows each other. So you want to be that agent who goes the distance for not only your client, but sometimes if you have to help the other agent who can't do this or that, you go out of your way to help them, because at the end of the day, it's the listing side, or it's the seller side, the buyer side, and then it's the people handling the documents and the loans. All those people to make not only the seller is happy, but the buyer's happy. And in that process, if you got to do somebody else's job just because something's going on, or they can, or they're not pulling their weight, whatever. Do what you got to do to make sure you can help your seller or you can help your buyer. That's what it takes. And lo and behold, that's what I did. And it took us, the appraisal was taking, I think, 2 weeks to happen because of COVID. But because I finally had to step in, the appraisal happened like that. And I don't, to this day, I don't look at it like, well, this. I look at it like I did what I was supposed to do. I help my clients get their home. Not I did somebody else's job. That's not how I look at it whenever I look back on that escrow. It's not I did somebody else's job, that's why it happened. No, I said I did what I had to do to make it happen. Ethically. Nothing illegal, but I did what I could to make this process get done. That's it. And lo and behold, the appraisal was fine. Everything was good because my clients already knew about the market analysis of what the other homes have sold in that area. So the appraisal, there was no issues with regards to the pricing of the home and whether the market can handle it and whether the loan was going to work for my clients. But again, I never told my clients to not have an appraisal, and I never told any of the clients I've worked with to not have an appraisal, to omit it. Never done that. However, sometimes I've told a client that, hey, they understand the market, we understand that, we still have two contingencies, because there was one point where it was a home where we didn't have the inspection yet, we just had the appraisal. And the sellers required that the appraisal be removed in order for us to proceed with the escrow, and I was like, okay, not a problem, because we still have two contingencies, which we did. But my clients had all the information before they even made that decision. Market analysis showed everything was good, so we removed the contingency, we kept it pushing. And I'll get into more about that strategy and why sometimes you can go about it to a certain degree how it works for you. So with that being said, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, text me, give me a call. If you're looking to buy or sell, let me know. I'd love to be able to make your dreams become a reality, just like I've done with my other clients. And again, I get to educate, because that's one of the most fun things I like doing as a realtor is I get to educate clients and let them know the process. So they understand it's not so straightforward, it's not complicated, but it's not so easy, but they feel better about themselves too once they're living in their house, because they know that, hey, I know about this process because not only I had a good realtor, but it's the fact of they sat down and they taught me everything. They let me know everything, and and that's really what it's about. So with that being said, I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care.